My will extends, and your heart implodes. My spirit endures, and your courage explodes. For I am a monk of Ivgorod, and I do not fight for good or gold, but to set things right like the ways of old. Pride or power, or valor of bold, hold no meaning in my humble abode. For I am a monk of Ivgorod, and it is balance I seek, my God shall behold. Hello everyone, this is the Holy Hermit, and welcome to the final episode of my character overview series. Today, we're looking at Monk. About time, right? The character makes its debut in Diablo 3, but if you look deeper into the character, you do find its origin can be dated back to Diablo 2. It is a hybrid of two characters after all, that is, Assassin from Diablo 2 and the Paladin from the same game. Looking at the characters, the primary attacks of this character, well, they represent the assassin. The more you hit, the bigger the damage you'll deal. Every hit is not just one attack on its own, a hit leads into another one. The art must flow, the skill must flow from one fist to another. That is the idea of martial artist, and this skill can be traced back to Assassin from Diablo 2. Whereas a paladin had auras that could make him stronger, or the monsters around him weaker, a monk does follow a similar principle. But he does choose his own path, in his own unique style of course. To understand the character even better, the way he plays, we must look into its history. History not just coming from the game itself or the previous games, but where the character was chosen from. A first look into it, and one thing we'll all agree on, he's almost got an Eastern blend of fighting style to him. A martial artist monk is all about speed, whereas a barbarian can hit and hit hard, a monk relies on speed. By the time a barbarian would land a hit, a monk would have landed 3, and this was the philosophy Blizzard was going after. If you want to have a melee character, you would have to distinguish him from a barbarian. A lot can be learned by simply looking at the character, the way he looks and all. So if you're wondering where the character originates from our real world, the character has its roots in Indian monks that you find these days. The holy monks, the spiritual warriors so to speak. After all, the very first monk that came across, that even the Shaolin monks learned their art from, was a monk from India called Bodhidharma. So this monk himself, the way he talks, his accent, the skills that he follows, something like mantra of conviction, mantra of, well, healing, they all have a word in it, and that is mantra. That, of course, is a Sanskrit word. Even other words like spirit, the philosophy even, the philosophy of, well, harmony, it is a blend of Hinduism and Buddhism. But hey, religion is not the topic of this video. It is quite a big topic for a humble guy like me to cover anyways. But we are going to talk about where the character gets his strength from, the skill setup, the attacks, something like a lashing tail kick, also connects him to eastern part of China where this martial art originated from. So if you want to place a finger on the character, and if you want to call, for example, a character such as Barbarian a northern person, somewhere from I'd say Scandinavia, then a monk would definitely be placed in the eastern region, somewhere in the Indian subcontinent or the western part of China, or eastern even. So here's the monk for you. Now we look at his aesthetics, the way he dresses up and all. Whatever he wears, no matter what you give to him, he's all about speed. And what speed would require is of course mobility, and that mobility comes from wearing not a hulking big armor, nothing too scary like a barb, or even flashy like a wizard. What this character wears after all are simple pieces of robes. That is how these monks and hermits are seen around, right? Quite appropriate holy hermit talking about a monk. Or not, maybe, anyways. Well, continuing further, his character looks, they all look like, well, he's got almost like a nice flowing feeling to him. There is nothing big and hulking, and that is exactly what they wanted to convey. A bit of simplicity to the character. Nothing too flashy, something that just works for you. This is how the monk looks like. Even the looks himself, you would see all these monks, even now in current day India and surrounding parts, where they would dress up with big beards, nothing too fancy on them, but they are holy warriors in a certain way or the other. So this is the point they were trying to convince, or even convey to the followers or the players who would play Diablo 3. Monk, after all, is a warrior from eastern part of the world. Now we look at the choice of weapons that Monk goes after. Now I'm not talking about all the weapons you see in the game, but the weapons that are Monk specific, something like a Diablo, or well, a fist weapon. Starting off, there is no such thing as Diablo, that's just a name crafted in Blizzard by Blizzard guys. Quite an appropriate name, I can see where it comes from, but originally a Diablo is called a latte. That's the where it originates from, and that is what a monk carries. Normally you would see a monk using a walking stick, quite simply to walk around an arid piece of land. But in this game, a monk puts it to good use. And going back to our Chinese martial arts, well, that is where this kind of weapon is utilized from. Chinese martial arts are after all known for using the most unconventional weapon to a very good use, to a very good end, and that is exactly what a monk does for you. The other set of weapons, we look at the fist weapons. Well, what are they after all? They are almost like these daggers, but a dagger, rather than having with a handle or a pommel, you quite simply wear it on your hand. Now this principle comes straight away from monks in northern parts of India. They are called Nihongs, where they would carry all these weapons. They're quite principally, these fist weapons are called katars, something you wrap around your wrist. And well, back in the olden days, when a monk would travel from one village to the other, if he ever used to get attacked by bandits, that was a weapon of choice. It was well concealed, and the idea, of course, initially was not to start any fights after all. Otherwise, what kind of a monk would you be? But you do see these weapons propping up in the game, and Blizzard doing a good job of, well, keeping the whole aesthetics of the character, the real life aesthetics that is, into the game itself. Then we end up seeing these things called spirit stones. Well, they're not big piece of armor, are they? They're not like a big helm, or something like a mighty weapon that shows off very good. In fact, it is quite simply a little piece of stone that you wear on your head. The idea, again, coming from Eastern philosophy. More importantly, you'd hear it from yoga and other things like that. Again, a part of the Indian subcontinent, where a spirit stone does represent your third eye, your all-seeing eye, as in your true consciousness, something that connects you to the world outside. So you also see all these aesthetics brought into the game very well. So Blizzard, again, doing a great job at it. Now we move on to the skill setup, the kind of skill he uses. As I said earlier, Monk is all about speed. So all the skills you would see on him are dedicated to that. Some way or the other, it helps him play better. If you know the secret of Monk, you would somehow, in one way or the other, be utilizing speed to his advantage. And we all do farming in this game, and this principle is also shown very clearly that a monk with a Tempest Rush build is probably, or in my opinion that is, the fastest moving character in the game, even faster than Whirlwind Barbs. So that aesthetic is again so very true. Skills like Wave of Light, a bell signifies purity. All the Buddhist and the Hindu monks, when they go to a temple, they will ring a bell. A bell signifies a signal to the god, communicating one's soul to the ethereal being, so to speak, and that you also see in the game, as in, a bell is good for a kind soul, but does work wonders if some evil soul presides, so to speak. So you do see a connection there. All the mantras I talked about earlier, of course, share that kind of belief too. You have something like a sweeping wind, almost like a holistic aura all around you. You have healing spells, and all the fancy damage that a monk deals, whether that be from blinding flash or light, or the healing spell, they all have a holy aspect to them. Holy not in a religious way, but being the purity of the soul, so to speak. That is what a monk is after all. Something like a 7-sided strike is a very, very good dedicated move given to the Eastern martial arts of China. Well, it's all about quickness there as well, and there's nothing better than flashing around 7 times or even 9 times Monk, hitting almost everything around him, dealing tons of damage. Now to answer the two very big questions, is this character true to the Diablo universe? Well, the answer quite simply is yes. Rather than having 2 characters returning in a game, we have one that shares both of their principles. It is quick, it is a good alternative to a melee character, and contrary to popular beliefs, there are quite a few builds of Monk that can work very well even on high monster powers. Check my videos if you want to know more, that is. And the second question is this character living up to its true potential? Is it actually delivering the whole, well, monk spirit, so to speak? And the answer is yes. Well, the character is receiving a great buff in the upcoming patch, which will make it even more viable. I've personally been playing with this character since the beginning, and I enjoy it, so there's a little to say about that, I guess. This marks the end of my character overview series. This was the Monk for you. If you missed out any other episodes, well, please make sure to click on them and learn more about them. I hope you liked this video of mine, and I wish you all have a great day ahead. Weekend's coming up, so we all have big plans, I guess. Thanks ever so much for listening. I'm out now. Bye.